So wait, I forgot. Can we say fuck on this? Can we swear?
Yeah, Cole just asked that.
Yeah, I know. And I totally, my mic exploded. So
Yeah, you say whatever you
I
want.
got a little distracted.
I got my trusty Nickelback cozy.
Yeah, and you're not in a car.
No, I'm not in a car. I'm in my kitchen, dining room.
Look at Kit's setup. That is amazing.
That's like
Thank you.
it's like $200 worth of brushes there. Just sitting
Yeah, microphone with a
Could all
microphone.
be hand-me-downs. You know, who knows? Maybe one of these brushes painted one of the original Secret paintings. Who knows?
Oh my
I'm
God!
gonna break into your house now and steal your brushes.
Who's that? What's that behind you?
Is that Alice Cooper?
What this?
It's probably his
Yeah.
girlfriend.
No, that was just a girl.
Hey, girl.
You know, the muses, they come so quickly, but they also leave very quickly.
That's sounds like college time for me.
Yes, exactly. So,
Sometimes
little,
they hang around and we paint their butt and leave it on our website.
So to
I have a
speak.
couple paintings of butts around here somewhere.
Me too. And I'm not even an artist. Men's butts, though.
That's okay. That's okay.
We don't judge.
2022, you know.
Yeah, whatever.
Sexuality exists on a bell curve. It's fine.
You're on a bell curve.
I am.
Can I refill my cup of coffee real quick and then sit
Yeah.
down?
Do it.
Yes.
All right.
Do whatever you need to do. You are the guest.
Does that mean I can smoke real quick?
Yeah.
Yes.
I won't take long.
I probably should do that too.
I'm just gonna do that here at my
See ya.
desk.
See you, George.
Fuck you, George.
See you, sucker.
That "fuck you, George" from Cole is totally going in the podcast. All right, so we're ready.
We are.
I
Okay,
think so.
I got to come up with some sort of intro. This is always hard for me. That's the intro. Welcome to the Secret Podcast. My name's George. I'm here with co-hosts Brett Zingler and Cole May. Today we're talking about the tribute hunt. The podcast has always kind of shied away from the tribute hunt. We never really talked about it, aside from after it was first released. But now we've got Kit with us. So we figured it's a good time on the anniversary of the tribute hunt to sort of see if we can't, maybe not breathe some new life into the hunt, but see if we can't come up with some new and interesting ideas regarding it. See if we can't find out some of the background information. Cole May is our newest official member of the podcast team. Brett and I haven't really worked on the tribute very much, but Cole has. Cole has been pretty active with the tribute, so we're going to let him sort of take us through some questions about the tribute. We're going to let him sort of lead this interview with Kit Palencar. So Cole, what do you got for us, man?
Well, it was interesting when you guys first asked me to do this. I went ahead and I picked out like 3 or 4 like super active people in the tribute hunt, and I'll say their names, and if you want to bleep them out after, obviously you can. But shout out to Rich Blanchford, James Van Eerden, and of course my best friend, boyfriend, Nicholas Kanik, for the information.
Wait, he's my boyfriend too.
Hey, you stay away, buddy. And the only question I asked him wasn't so much like where are you looking and all that kind of stuff, because I think overall the general location of the tribute cask is pretty much agreed upon. Whether or not it's right is totally a different question. But I more so wanted to know like what was kind of the approach that people took when it first come out. You know what I mean? And for the most part, they were kind of all the same ideas, but with a few tweaks here and there, and it was really cool to talk to a few of these people. So, a lot of the ideas that I got were that, people were picking apart individual tributes to individual parts of each puzzle, right? So people would say, well, this looks like Charleston, or this looks like it has something to do with, San Francisco or whatever, right? This verse line sounds like this one from this particular verse. Like there was a lot of comparison to the actual secret puzzle before it seemed like there was any like real solving going on, right? Like any kind of theorization on location or anything like that. And, so it was really cool because a lot of work was put into kind of seeing what was in tribute to what, right, to the rest of the puzzle sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Totally. I think, George, you know the origin of this, but I was one of the first people to jump in with a group of people that I was working with. That was we called ourselves the Jewel Box. But I just sort of, I worked on it for a little while, and then things went squirrely for me. So I had to refamiliarize myself with it. But I think, George, you were around when JM first conceived of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the story of the conception, at least from my point of view, was when we first started doing the podcast. We only did like 5 or 6 episodes, and we were JM and I were approached by a TV production company, and they were super interested in making a TV show. So much so that we like filmed a pilot and stuff. It was a little crazy.
Interesting to say, but I'm a 36-year-old single father. I'm a firefighter and a treasure hunter. Like this is what treasure hunters look like.
It has all the elements of a great adventure.
It is definitely Indiana Jones meets National Treasure with a little bit of Goonies mixed in. Generally, the first question you get asked, are these things real? We know that. 2 have been found, 10 remain, and John and I are trying to find them. John and I completely disagree with the vast majority of the way this puzzle works.
He kind of keeps things more based in reality, and I kind of explore a lot of different avenues of could-be's and possibilities. George is probably making faces and laughing. That's his normal, that's his normal mode.
John is the kind of person that definitely thinks that he's a good puzzle maker. John thinks that these puzzles are done very well. I do not. I think he tried to be a very good puzzle maker, but he was super bad at it. And he gave us clues that just don't hold up to the test of time. Now, maybe he didn't think it would take that long for them to solve, but it has. He gave us clues like in St. Augustine, he wants us to look over tall grass. Byron, grass gets cut occasionally.
We don't know if it's grass or if that's a metaphor for something. So this is where George and I have a fun time with the puzzle.
Right, but the man said grass. If you look at the Milwaukee painting, you see a man juggling some things. That painting doesn't have any latitude and longitude coordinates in it. So for a long time, nobody was actually sure exactly where that was until you look at the millstone, the walking cane, and the key and realize that's Milwaukee. Time is not on our side with this puzzle. The visual clues that we have, they go away. Trees get cut down. Parks change dimensions. Buildings get built on top of old parks. The one thing that John and I agree on is that teamwork will solve this.
Yeah.
So the important thing about the podcast is we wanted to bring more people together.
For 4 years, we were missing pockets of information, and we tried like hell to get them from wherever we could.
So you can join our groups. You can talk to us. A lot of people online like to work on this puzzle, but they don't necessarily put holes in the ground. Our team, we put the holes in the ground.
That's why it's exciting, because the pressure's on, the race is on, and we have everything we need to do it.
We've been working on this thing for so long, we just want it solved finally.
I just want to sleep at night. It'd be nice to sleep, a sound night's sleep without waking up in the middle of the night going, it's that monument.
One of the features of the TV show was each episode there would be something hidden in an episode, like something written on an arm or like something spray painted on the back of a building or something that would be a portion of a verse, right? And at the end of the show, you could find each of those things in the episode, put it all together, and you would have a treasure hunt from the show. Now the TV show kind of fizzled out. It went a long time, but it kind of fizzled out. And John just sort of took that idea and kept going forward with it. We eventually got an interview with Joe Ellen, and he presented the idea of Joe Ellen of making like a hunt that was a tribute to Byron, to the original puzzles, just something to sort of continue it forward. Joe Ellen offered to give him the cask to do it, and he sort of went from there. The Prelude was released. I don't think John had a hand in the Prelude. I think it was done. He asked John Hardepy to do it.
That's right.
And yeah, so John Hardepy, I think he came up with the text. He came up with images. He came up with everything. But yeah, that's sort of how the tribute hunt was conceived. It started as an idea for a TV show that we were going to do that never happened, and sort of went from there. Sorry.
Kit somehow.
Yeah.
Kit, how did you get involved?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for organizing this, George, and thanks for Cole for asking some of these questions, and Brett as well. I feel like I have a lapse in my memory of how I became involved in this. It all just if you asked me, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, if you thought I was going to be where I am right now, I wouldn't even have guessed it. I feel like because I am who I am. I'm my dad's son. John wanted it to be as authentic as possible, and I can't even remember when and where John first reached out to me about contacting me for this. But I was like, yeah, this is really cool. I have no idea what I'm doing because I've never done anything like this before. But I've always looked at these paintings. I've always tried to figure them out myself. I was like, maybe I'll learn something about the original Secret by doing this. And so it kind of went from there, and it happened very, very fast. And I can't believe it's been 2 years, 3 years since it was released.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah.
I can refresh your memory on some of that, by the way.
Yeah, please do.
So,
Please do.
John, you were the only person I ever knew John to be nervous about contacting. Like, he was super worried. When he first sent you a message about doing this, like, everybody had to proofread his message so that he worded it correctly. I know he said that you guys were friends on Facebook since you were like 14. He was like, you guys were friends forever. But you never really talked. And he was like, now that I have this cask, he's like, I want to incorporate, since I have something made by one artist from The Secret, I want to incorporate other artists. And he was like, I wonder if Kit would do it sort of as a way to be involved in something his dad was involved in, right? Sort of carry on that legacy. And it took him a long time to form that first message to you. But yeah, it was crazy. Like I said, it's the only time I've ever known him to be nervous to contact someone.
Really, I can't believe he was nervous to do that.
Super nervous. He was
and then you get to know me, and I'm an open book about pretty much anything.
I'm nervous right now looking at it.
It was so weird. He was so sure he was gonna blow it. He was like, it's just like, I'm this old dude messaging this young artist about a project that his dad did. Like, he was so sure he was gonna blow it, and he only had one chance to get it right. It was nuts.
I feel like other people had talked to me about doing something, some sort of idea, or, to bring me in on something, and nothing. I feel like nothing really transpired with anybody else, and then I don't know why. I feel like I didn't necessarily choose John, but John chose me, and it just happened very, very naturally. I think there wasn't any point when I felt uncomfortable or weirded out. I had people asking me questions about The Secret that my dad worked on, and I couldn't answer too many questions because I just didn't know, and I still don't know. And I think that's maybe how I got to know John, was through that. And
John had a way of bringing people in. John had a way of making things really interesting and really meaningful, and bringing people into him in a meaningful sort of way.
Can we talk? And I realize, obviously, like, I've already, when I was first forming these questions, I threw the idea of ever asking anything that would imply we want to know where anything is, because obviously you're not going to say those things. And frankly, I wouldn't want you to. So I threw that idea out entirely. But I do want to sort of talk about the creation, like the context or whatever, and the creation of the tribute hunt. From the point at which you got involved, kind of thing. Like you said, it seems like a pretty natural idea to have brought you in, as opposed to like Banksy or somebody, you know what I mean? Like, to do something like this. Like, if it wasn't you, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have happened, right? So let's paint a scene here. You're This is 2019. JM gets a hold of you, says we're doing this tribute to The Secret. You want to get involved, so you agree to it, and now it's time to develop image and verse and all that kind of stuff. Is that how it went, or was it, you know, I want to do the image, like you're saying to him, I want to do the image, you do the verse? Are you able to say at all, you know, how far your reach into the creation of the tribute went? Was it as far as just the image, or, you know, did you have a hand in lots of the other stuff as well?
That is a very terrific question. I mean, just because it released in 2019 doesn't mean we weren't working on it. I mean, months prior to that,
Right.
if not years. And so how the process would kind of go was, you know, we would look at references to not only the original, 12 paintings, but also to the references that were used throughout art history, different artists doing different paintings that have certain symbolism in them or are tied to certain kings from certain countries that have an influence on the culture that is from that area. Like, the Dutch painting in the original Secret has a very Rembrandt vibe. You know, it's about the Dutch immigration, and Rembrandt is a Dutch painter. And so it's got that kind of mood to it. So there were certain things that were researched and looked at first. And I think it kind of started out as, I'm the artist. I do what I do. And John is going to be the writer. He does what he does. And there were points when we would, mesh together, and I would do some sketches. I would send him some things. He would write some stuff. He would send me things. And I think there was one point when we tried telling each other what should be in each other's thing. Like, I was like, maybe I'll write a line or something and see where you go with it. And then he would give me an idea about what the painting should look like or what he wanted in the painting. At one point it was one of the original concepts for the painting was to have this wall of like mounted trophies with different pieces from either different paintings or different locations for the tribute. And I remember talking about that and showing him an idea, and I would be honest with him and say, hey, this isn't really flowing well with me, or this is straying too far from what I think it should be in terms of an artistic direction. And then John would write things and send them to me, and I don't know, everything he wrote was always so good, and he would hide certain things in what he would write. And I would be like, well, that's pretty cool. Or, hey, that's too much. Maybe we should tone that back a little bit. And he would say the same thing to me. He'd be like, that is way too obvious. Get rid of that or change it up. And there were some things that we talked about where we're like, is anybody even going to find that? Or, something like a little nick in the paint turns into this big thing that's not actually a thing. So I hope that answers your question on that.
Yeah, so it's safe to say then that the creation of the verse and the creation of the image sort of were hand in hand, right? Like they influenced each other's creation to the point where eventually the final product was kind of honed down between the two, sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah,
for sure. And it was really interesting when the images were being sent to John and John was sending me verses. The really tricky part was finding out how it's, because the verse and the painting might, pair in some way, but there needs to be some very, very subtle way of doing that. It can't be too obvious. It can't be too literal. And there are some things that just exist in the verse, and there's some things that just exist in the painting, and then there's some things that need to be meshed together in order for it to be one whole piece.
So let me let me ask real quick, just bouncing off of that. We find a lot in The Secret that people focus on the paintings as a way of solving the hunt, sort of exclusively using a painting, right? Are you having said that, does that mean that the tribute hunt is not that way? Like, if I were to take the verse away from the tribute hunt and just present someone with the painting, they would not be able to find this cask.
Correct.
And vice versa. If I were to take the painting away and just give them the verse, they would not be able to find this cask.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Do you have any like puzzle making experience? And second part of that question is, did you guys run some of this by anybody and go, wow, what, we're so enveloped in this thing, what do you guys think?
I have zero puzzle making experience, but I have completed a lot of puzzles, and I like puzzling things, I guess, if that's a thing. I love troubleshooting. I love figuring things out. When I was a little kid, I would, and I mean little as in, I don't know, I'm 5, 6, 7 years old, and I have a brother who is 4 years older than I am, and he is super into the tech world. And we would, take apart boom boxes and VCRs and put them back together, and then you figure out how different things work. So I've always been interested in puzzles and things like that, but I had never created one. What was the second part of the question? I'm so sorry.
Did you check your progress with any outside party and say, hey, how we doing here?
The only person that I attempted to check with, and I say attempted because I didn't get very far, was my dad. And he maybe helped me just a little bit in terms of how to distort certain things, but he said very, very a minuscule amount of what John and I came up with together. And that was because my dad told me that it's my thing. It's my thing with John, and he is trying to respect that. And also I feel like he's holding on to some things that he didn't want to tell me for reasons.
Like, are you able to explain sort of the extent of the, like, how deep the word tribute actually goes? Like, how much of the book did you pay tribute to? Or was it just like the concept of the book that it was paying tribute to? Was it a specific comparison, or was it more of a conceptual kind of comparison? Are you able to answer that?
I think so, but I feel like some of it might be assumption, and I'm hoping George can help me on it because you knew John a lot better than I did. I think that because I have never read the book, The Secret, I was always enamored with the images. I would always stare at them, and I would, read the verse. I never read any of the historical part with the fair folk and everything like that. So, but I assume that John did, and I feel like he definitely utilized that more. I don't know if it was ever a requirement that you had to read the book in order to be able to solve the
John once gave an interview where he said that knowledge of the book of The Secret, certain aspects of the book of The Secret, would be very important to solving the tribute. Now John he's a lot like me. Like, he didn't really like the back of the book. He thought it was kind of cheesy and lame. He thought it, not lame, but he thought it didn't have any aspects. He thought it didn't have any, lame. It didn't have any real impact on the puzzle in general. If I had to answer that question, I would say, like, you should pay attention to the front of the book. I think that will help you with the tribute immensely.
Interesting. Well, I never thought it was necessary, so I never read it. I always left that up to John. John, I feel, held my hand through a lot of this stuff that I was either completely uneducated about or I had no idea was even a thing. Yeah. And so I kind of leaned on him quite a bit in terms of direction. I feel like I was there as the artist and creator of a composition and, you know, trying to hide things in it. And a lot of it was, in terms of the image part, done on my behalf. And John really helped me out through a lot of the other things. He would explain to me certain things about the original that were, he wanted in the tribute. And so I think the tribute kind of tries to encompass all of that from the original Secret in a very condensed format.
To sort of expand on something you said, a long time ago we spoke back when you were first starting the tribute painting. You said that your role in the tribute was more of a tool than anything, that you were the painter and that's what you wanted your role to be. But throughout the process, it seemed to become more personal for you. It seemed to you put yourself into it more, and it just became more personal. At what point did your feelings change from I just want to be the painter of this to I want this to be part of something I'm known for, or I want this to be a part of my legacy as a painter?
I think it really changed after it came out, and to see all of these people immediately start to work together on something that John and I created, that I had some sort of hand in, some sort of role in. It was really humbling, and it was extremely touching, and it just was such a good feeling to be a part of a project that, you know, especially when people would post photos of themselves out with their families, their children, you know, their parents, whatever. And you get to learn a sense of history. You get to learn something about an area that you might never even have researched before had you not known about the tribute or the Secret. And that was one of the more rewarding things. That's when it became personal. The painting was done in a relatively short time, so it's not like that it became personal when I was painting it, but it never felt like a job ever. It never felt like a commission. There was always some part of it that was from within, and then it really became personal after it came out.
What was it like? And I guess if you're able to describe kind of the point of when it got there, but like when you decided you were satisfied with the image, you know, and brought it to JM for what would end up being the last time, you know, what was that kind of like? Like, was that all done in tandem? Like, did he call you one day and say, Doug, I got the verse, and then you say, Doug, I got the image. Like, this is crazy. Let's get together and put them together and see what we got. You know, like, was that, or did it just sort of flow organically into that, and then naturally it's just there you go? And I also have a B-side question to this, but I'll wait until you're done answering the first one.
Okay, thank you, because I love questions, and sometimes I get so far ahead of myself I forget the other half of the question.
That's cool.
Or I go off on some tangent that is about something completely unrelated. I think I get that from my dad a little bit. The guy never stops talking. It flowed very smoothly. It was never an abrupt transition from hey, this is done, you know, put them together. It was always, we were always conversing back and forth about the verse and the painting. And either were, you know, I would send him in progress shots of the painting, and he'd be like, hey, move this around or change this. And so it was worked up until the day it was released. I took pictures of the painting while it was still wet, and then those are the pictures that were, you know, uploaded and posted. So that part happened pretty quickly, but leading up to it, it was very, very smooth, nothing abrupt.
Okay, so my B-side question was, so the whole process flowed very organically to get us the tribute puzzle as we now, as key searchers, have it. And, you know, if one builds the other sort of thing, it gets to a point, like, were you at the very end, and this is sort of like a be as honest as you want kind of question, but at the end, were you ultimately satisfied with the image that you produced? Or like, are there things that you wish you could have added, or like, do you look at it now 3 years on and say, like, I kind of wish I had done this, or like, is it like, I get the feeling of being 100% satisfied with a project, right? But is there ever a time where you're like, shit, I wish I could have maybe put this there, or so? Was there ever that conversation, after the tribute was put out, not just with you personally, but anybody else?
Yeah, that was a conversation I had with myself many times, and John a couple times, and I feel like I maybe mentioned it to George. I had always wondered why my dad said the secret paintings were some of the worst paintings he had done, that he, hates looking at them, which, if you didn't know that, it might surprise you too. And because I think they're beautiful. And there's certain things that are in those paintings that are, still being used in terms of technique and maybe symbolism and hiding things that still make an appearance in paintings that he's done in the last 5-10 years. Absolutely. I think that the secret tribute painting could have been done differently. There are sketches that I've done that are totally different things. And not to say that I wasn't satisfied with the secret painting, but there are a lot of things that I would have done differently.
Do you mean technique wise, like in how you did it rather than what you put in there?
That, and also what I put in there, or what I shouldn't have put in there. And I do have plans to redo it at some point, something a little bit more true to what I think an original secret painting should be. And that's the tricky part, is thinking about how much you pull from the original 12 and how much you do on your own. And that was the really tricky part that I could have, I feel like, done better. Some of the original paintings are only, like the size of this one behind me, which is 16 by 20, or something even smaller. Like, I think the Florida painting is only, or Florida painting in quotes, is only, this big or something. It's really tiny. The tribute painting is 3 feet by 4 feet. It's 36 inches by 48 inches. And so scale is definitely something that I would tone down on, but it's out, and that's what people are looking at, and that's what you have to roll with. So
let me ask this. The painting is gorgeous on its own. I like this painting.
Thank you.
It's unique. You run the risk when you're doing something like this of it just being a copy, like it just being a copy of your dad's work, but this is unique. This is a Kit Palencar. It's not a copy of a John Palencar. No artist that I know of is truly happy with their work. Like, 10 years, 2 years down the road, 10 years down the road, they're always like, oh, that sucks, I should have done it better. So I'm wondering how much of your answer is that, just that artists are finicky perfectionists, and they can't see the beauty in their own work because they see the flaws that no one else sees.
I think that's entirely true. And it's because you're always learning. I think that as a teacher, I learn from my students too. I will see techniques that they use that I've never seen before, and I'm like, oh, I'll try that in the studio. Or they did something accidental, and I won't necessarily tell them that what they did was cool, but I'll be like, okay, mental note of what they did. I'll take it back. So I think over the course of the years, you learn how to handle things differently. Your eyesight starts to change about what you see and what you absorb and what you observe as well, and what you find is important. And the one thing that I've really learned over the years is less is more. And that's something that my dad would, tells me all the time when I'm either he's talking about his own paintings and I'm critiquing his paintings, and he's talking about design decisions and things like that. So I think that is true, and it has been a while since I, have done that painting.
Yeah.
And things change. I look at it differently.
Why do you think it's been almost 3 years since this has been out and it hasn't been solved, or why do you think it's so, do you think that this is a difficult puzzle?
The difficulty of the puzzle is dependent entirely upon who is looking at the puzzle, if that makes any sense. I think that there are certain things that should be simplified, or certain things that are right in front of your face, but that are overlooked entirely. And that's what's really funny, is looking at some of the proposed solves and realizing that some people took the bait, and that's okay.
I asked your dad a question once, and he gave an answer almost exactly what you just said. I asked him, I was like, is there anything in the secret puzzles the secret paintings that people haven't found? And he was like, yeah, there's something that's staring you right in the face that you haven't found. Is there something in the tribute that you're surprised? It's in the painting. Is there something in the painting that you're surprised people haven't found? Is there one of those it's staring you right in the face things?
I need to think about what people have posted, and I think there are some things that people have missed, but I'm not going to say how many, and I'm not going to say.
Please don't elaborate on that.
Anything more like that.
I got a couple of questions then that I can ask here. Earlier we talked about how you guys did a podcast interview after the Boston Expedition Unknown episode came out, when like they did the interview with Jason Krupat and all that stuff. And I have a couple of quotes from you that I want to talk about. And one of the reasons why I want to ask you about these is to see if you still think this way, and see if you'll actually answer any of these. But so, and this kind of leads into our discussion of symbolism in a way, because when you guys were talking about the Boston painting in that particular picture, Kit had mentioned that, and I'm going to quote you here, that it was told to you by the man, the myth, the legend, who was presumably at that point your dad, that he's told you that images are, and this is a quote, images are where it's buried, and hiding in plain sight. So the picture is like, it's in there and it's in the picture. Is that sort of aesthetic, or that idea applied to the tribute at all? Can you say that? Like, is the image showing you where it's buried, like a lot of people think the secret ones are?
Did you say that in the Boston episode? That's crazy. How did I miss that?
I don't know. I plead the fifth on this one.
That's fine.
I think that it tried not to be too obvious with the visual depictions, but I feel like you will, if you find all of the clues, you will know where you are supposed to go. I think it's like a destiny thing.
Like, one thing that really is interesting to me, and this sort of applies to both the, like the secret, the tribute, and to you personally, is that, like, comparatively, and you've said this on a few different occasions, even just tonight here, but comparatively to your father, your work is, and this is not a good or bad or anything, but comparatively, your work is quite a bit more minimalist than JJP's work is, right? 3 of my favorite pieces of yours are Marty, It's Your Kids, God's Thumbnail, and At the Grave. And in those pictures, you have deliberate subjects and what I refer to as a passive background, where if the background wasn't there, really, from a viewer's perspective, not so much from an artist's perspective, but if the background was any different, it really wouldn't change the message of the picture, right? The tribute image compared to the secret images, and maybe this is part of the magic of the tribute, is that given how, like, the JJP's pictures for the secret are quite busy, right? Like, there's lots of stuff in those pictures and there's lots to look at and all that. And in the tribute image, there's considerably less, right? Like, can we agree that that's the case?
I would think so, in terms of, stylistically speaking. Yeah, it's
right.
They're simpler.
Right. And yet you still achieve the, the puzzle aspect of the same thing that your dad did with the secret stuff, right? Like there's still clues, they still connect with the verse and the puzzle and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Despite having quite a bit less imagery, if you will. But also one thing I guess the tribute has, just as a small caveat, that the rest of the secret doesn't, is important imagery in the, and this is speculation from the community, is imagery on the verse page, right? Like that sort of matters, it seems, because people have found places where those things that are on the verse page are, right? Like the Christensen fountain and all that kind of stuff. And when it comes to the tribute, I guess my ultimate question, and I guess the ultimate question from the community is how deep does that tribute go? And so with that last question, is there that minimalism, is that an intentional thing for you where you wanted to keep it, Kit Palencar style, so you went a little more minimalist than John Jude Palencar style, or? Great question.
I think that's where the less is more thing comes into play, where I always, this painting was done after I was in grad school. So I feel like it was a vulnerable time, especially, and I'm saying that kind of as a joke, but in grad school, they kind of take what you know and what you've learned and they put it all into a blender and they blend it up, and then you're force fed with a funnel that same information. And so my artwork that I was doing before grad school, during grad school, and after are, I feel like, three completely different things. So the tribute painting was done pretty much right after grad school, when I was still, I don't want to say brainwashed, but I was definitely thinking about imagery different. And I went to a school where the abstract side of art and it wasn't so representationally based. It was more about conceptual art or more minimal art and that's just the way contemporary art is going. You don't really see a whole lot of super detailed, like traditional art anymore. Like the days of Wyeth and Edward Hopper and those sort of realist artists are kind of over. And so there were some elements that were meant to be more based in representationalism and realism, and then there were some elements that were based in more of this simplified style.
I mean, I think it's important. The tribute is a tribute to the original paintings, but it's important that it be separate, that this be Kit Palencar artwork, that it not be a copy of something else. Like it's Kit's life, it's Kit's art. Yeah, it's a tribute. It's important that it be Kit's art. It's important that it be in his style. It's important that his message get across.
It's a good conversation to have too, because I think if I were to redo it, or I should say when I redo it, I think that there are more elements that I would like to use that I've learned in the past few years, because I don't know, I've always loved my dad's style of painting, which is taking a brush that's I don't know, you won't be able to see it on camera, but you take a brush that's 5 hairs in some air, as Bob Ross would say, and you do thousands of tiny little strokes. I feel like I'm not that patient of a person, and that's just my how I am, and everybody's wired differently. So there are things that I just don't have the patience for, and maybe that's one of them, where the style is different. And I will look at things like the original Secret paintings, and some things I will use, some things I won't. But if I do it differently in the future, I think it would look drastically different than how it does now.
That's something I could never get about acrylic artists like your dad. They paint in dots and cross hatches and make it so beautiful and so detailed in the end. But it's like, God, the amount of time that takes.
Yeah.
And skill to make a crosshatch that detailed. What's essentially a crosshatch that detailed.
It's like a very fine, like weaving almost.
Yeah.
You're weaving these layers of transparent color over each other, and they're each, facing a different direction, and you get the sense of form and volume. So It's crazy.
Here's a question that came in from the tribute Facebook page, and it's where is the cask buried?
Well,
I
you
think
go to
John
the
said.
Texaco station and you make a right.
Wait a minute.
I think John said in that last Christmas stream it was in my backyard.
Well, actually,
I
I got one from the community too. From the most beautiful man in the entire community. He wants to know if the painting is part of the prize.
Oh, if the painting is part of, like, you find the cask, you get the painting.
Yeah. Do you get the painting?
No, you don't.
You could buy it.
You can buy it.
Buy it, or maybe an auction in
You'd
the
have
future
to.
sometime.
Right. You'd have to also buy that.
Much,
Yeah.
much like John Palancar told Andy Abrams, if you have $10,000, you can buy the tribute painting.
That's good. No, good questions.
And you find the cask and give Kit $10,000. There you go. That's how it works.
That's how. And I keep the painting too.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Sounds like a sweet deal.
Kid, I got a really good question for you. Brett, can I just cut in really quick?
No,
Sorry.
cut in.
If I don't ask this now, I'm going to forget it. So, Kid, you work on The Secret as well, right? Or you have in the past worked on the original Secret?
Yeah.
Yeah. So was it totally cool when you were making the tribute to kind of sometimes did you ever just sometimes step back and try to look at it as a person, looking for the cask as opposed to the person burying it?
Not really. And it's not that I didn't want to, but I feel like I couldn't. If I was the one designing it, I feel like I could not separate myself from that. Even looking at the original, I feel like I can't, look at those like, I didn't have some sort of hand in those. I mean, I didn't, but it's, growing up with the guy that did them, you bring them out or you look at them at some point and be like, hey, what's that? You might get something, you might not.
So Kit, we were talking about people buying the painting. One of the bad things about the Secret paintings with your dad is he doesn't necessarily own the rights to them. He doesn't own total rights to them. He can't display them. He can't sell prints of them. But you own the rights to this painting, and people want this painting. Do you have any interests or plans in selling prints or anything like that of the painting?
Absolutely. I would love to sell some more, high quality physical prints, because I know people have, maybe printed out their own copies or what, but no, those are definitely in the works for sure.
Was there ever a point where you were working with JM on this thing and you were like, man, this is where this whole thing began? This, I feel like my dad and Byron right now, sort of a sense of lore.
I think when we got back in the car after it was in the ground and we were driving away, I think that's when it like started to sink in, like, what have we done kind of type thing. And it was really exhilarating.
Can you talk about like just what it was like, what that day was like, without giving any locations obviously or anything like that, but like, can you describe the day you buried that cask?
Getting in John's
was like-
Miata.
Yeah, right. It was like any other day. And it just the day, the night, whenever it was, took a interesting turn, and you just put on your vests and do the thing.
Is that what you guys did? Like you did the whole fake workers vest and all that kind of stuff? Tight.
I still can't imagine John digging a hole. Like, I could not force that man to dig a hole.
He wouldn't let me have any part in it. He did it all himself, and I was
Crazy.
kind of watching out, making some BS conversation about how we were collecting soil samples for our graduate school project, and we had to take them back to the classroom. And
Did people catch you digging that hole?
I don't know if there were any people around or not. I can't.
Probably
That's a-
better to.
I
That's a
can't
good answer,
say.
yeah. Let me ask you this, just for me. Thinking back, because John's obviously no longer with us. Thinking back to all of your experiences with John, not just with the tribute. When you think of John, what's your favorite memory? What comes to mind?
my favorite memory with John is when he was doing the audio for a band called Firefall,
Oh,
I think. And so he had come into, he rented a car, and it was like a Dodge Charger or something. It was like he got like the most American muscle car you could get, and it was purple, and or it was like deep dark silver. It was some very dark color. And I remember he had come into Starbucks where I was working at the time. And I don't know if I took a break or not, but John had come in with like the lead singer of Firefall. And I had never heard Firefall before. I never listened to them before. And I remember they both order something. I think I comp some part of their order, like a drink or a sandwich or something. And the lead singer of Firefall orders a sandwich. And I get like caught up with talking to John and the singer, and I wish I knew his name. I'm so sorry if he's ever going to listen to this. And I get so caught up in talking to them that I forget about his sandwich. And it's been like 5 to 10 minutes since he ordered, and they're just trying to go. But I eventually remember, and I, apologize. I put on my customer service, smile, and then fix the problem. And it's later at night, and my now girlfriend and I go see this Firefall show. And at the end of the show, we're walking by, and they're all signing. All the band members are signing posters and CDs and stuff. And I remember I said hi to him, and that was a good show and all that. And he's like, "Hey, where's my sandwich?" Something about the sandwich I forgot earlier. And
You should have brought one.
I should have. But that was really funny. I think that John had introduced me to a lot of different things, and I'll always be thankful for that.
He got me and George into the backstage at a Styx show.
yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty. That's pretty sick.
Oh, it was awesome. Especially to be backstage. Those are if people don't know, those are the Mr. Roboto guys.
We drank all their beer.
Yeah, we drank all their beer. Although we brought some alcohol for some because we had been to the Bahamas or something like that. So we brought some rum, or you did, or I don't remember. But
It was like Tortuga overproof. It was good.
Dude, we ate like kings, where the band eats and drinks. And I mean, he styled us out. He didn't know who I was. George.
He invited me and Destiny down. He was doing a festival in Charleston called the High Water Festival or something. This lady that he was touring with, oh God, what's her name? She's a African American singer, dreadlocks. This gorgeous lady, amazing singer. Can't remember her name. And he placed me and Destiny in the artist tent, and we just hung out back there. We like stole we all ate all of Jason Aldean's snacks. It was awesome. Yeah, he was a good dude. He was a lot of fun to be around.
I feel like he would just get you into either really cool experiences or trouble if you hung out with him.
Yeah. He told me, like, he's like, the greatest hint you can, or the greatest tip I can ever give you for a concert is just, if you want to go backstage, just walk past security, and if they say anything, just scream out, "I'm trying to fucking work here." And he's like, if you do that, you can get backstage. I've never.
That was one thing. As long as you act like you belong, you can get into all sorts of places.
What you said there about being in trouble or having an awesome time, you just described the entire weekend I spent with him in New Orleans.
Oh,
God. We were either having it's like we were either having an amazing time or it was an absolute shit show. There was unless we were sleeping, there was nothing in between. Can I get a beer refill?
Yeah.
And is my lighting okay? I've been struggling with this light behind me.
Yeah, you're fine.
It's just super foggy behind you. Like you just can't see it.
That's okay, right? It's not distracting.
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab a drink too while he's grabbing a drink.
I'm gonna go
grabbing a
pee.
drink.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can
Let's
I
go to
smoke?
the bathroom, drink, smoke.
All
Meet you
right.
in 7 minutes. 7
Got
minutes,
it.
guys.
Got it.
A few moments later.
Is it just me, or does that, in the background of Kit's video, does it look like that hoodie guy is stroking a giant plastic dong?
It does.
Here.
Is that a plastic dong?
No, I think it's like maybe a sponge. I don't know.
Where?
Is that Jesus? Who is that?
Look at the guy in the hoodie. See his
Okay.
hand, and then what's
I
in
don't
front
see
of
it.
it?
I don't see a guy in the hoodie.
the red,
In the-
like to
the
the right
red-
of the Alice Cooper.
Yeah, to the right of
The red guy? Okay. Oh, it's really hard. Okay, I got this just a little small.
It looks like he's stroking a
That's what
giant
she said.
plastic dong.
Wait,
I think.
why does he have a plastic dong in a cup?
Well, any artist, Brett. I don't know if you know this, but all artists have to have a plastic dong in their studio.
Oh,
It-
no,
yeah,
I didn't
it's
know
like
that.
It's part of the
Okay.
code.
Okay. Cool. I think I would fit right in. Wait.
Mine
a
hangs
minute.
from the roof. Mine hangs
Wait
from
a
the roof.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mine's elsewhere.
Do you guys know who I was talking about when I said the most beautiful man in the group?
Probably
Yeah,
Nick.
Brett.
Oh.
No, it's Brody.
Oh.
Just in the nick of time,
Ooh.
right?
I cannot think of a better joke.
Good one.
Oh shit! That should be in the podcast.
I used to do that too, actually. I put Nick and Caroline in. I don't know if George noticed this or not, but when I first started, I would throw those guys into it. They're like royalty.
They're fun.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Did you know I spent the weekend with Ashley Ann. She's one of the mods in Dustin's group in Charleston.
So hot.
One of the best times I've ever had. She's such a nice person.
Yeah, she's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know her very well. Never met her in person, but
You
from what
would
I've seen,
love her.
she's cool.
You would
She's
love her and her husband.
Super cool.
Husband's
She's
great.
a wicked good resource for NOLA. Like her and Brody have worked New Orleans a lot, and regardless of your spot there, she can talk to you about it for fucking days.
Okay, so we're hitting
we're remarking on your plastic dong that you have in the background.
Oh, what's this thing?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, exactly that thing.
It is
Yeah.
a dong.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Those are the original Harman Kardon sound sticks that were.
It looks even more like that guy's holding it now.
The starving artist thing is real. Very,
It
very
sure is.
real.
It's real.
If
If I lifted on my shirt right now, it'd be ribs and a spine.
Yeah.
You and me both, brother.
That would probably, could you do that? That would probably get us more views on YouTube if you
It would, but I mean, if you subscribe to my top tier on Patreon, you might get that. So
Ooh.
Kid, do you have any tattoos?
I have no tattoos. I have
Really?
0 tattoos. I have one piercing in my nose, and it's a septum piercing, and that is about it. I have.
Have
no
you ever
tattoos.
had a tattoo?
No.
I'm kidding. But you have
Never had a
plans to ever
tattoo.
get
I've always
tattoos?
wanted a tattoo.
What's
I've had
stopping
ideas about tattoos, and I just never have.
Go get a
Gone
tribute
for it.
tattoo.
Get the tribute
about it.
image tattooed on you.
Okay, the whole painting.
That'd
You
be
should
rad.
get
Please.
on your back,
No,
like Steve-O style. You should get a tattoo of you painting the tribute painting.
When you guys were making it, like, did you pay attention to the way that, to the community itself as it is now? Or was it more like, let's build this based on people thinking about the original Secret in the 80s kind of thing? Like, did you look at Jason Olsen's chart? Did you, look at the theories people have about the Secret and stuff like that, and then develop the tribute hunt? Or was it just basically, we have this concept and we're going to build on it the way we see it?
That is a great question. I did not. I don't think I really was a part of the community. I mean, I was a part of the community, but I never really, was actively working with people, I think, to generate solves or to look into things. And so I always push that stuff to the back of my head. It's always been there, but it's not something I looked at and referenced frequently, which I think really aided in the tribute being not this, heavily manipulated concept where we look at what people are looking for and we do something completely opposite. I think that there are certain parallels between the original and the tribute that are happening naturally because it was, designed not with I don't want to say without the community in mind, because it was for the community, but we definitely didn't, at least I didn't, when designing the painting, look at what people were saying or what people were thinking. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that or whatever. I don't know.
So did you actively stay away from the community while you were doing the tribute image, or did you that just wasn't something in your mind?
It was just something that was just an outlier. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the community was there, and we were doing it for the community and to create something interesting, but we weren't like using the community in terms to generate this tribute hunt.
To close out the tribute talk, there was a question on one of the on the tribute page that I just kind of want to get in concrete. Just the answer in concrete right here.
Let's hear it.
You said before that John did most of the work on the verse. You did most of the work on painting. I can assume from that means you probably don't completely know how the verse works. Like you could walk up to a place and dig this cask up, I'm sure, but you don't completely know how the verse works. And I can assume that John didn't completely know how the painting worked. John has stated many times that no write-ins for this are acceptable. No write-ins for the tribute. In order to solve the tribute, you have to dig up the cask. Is that applicable with you as well? Will you accept write-in answers?
I will not, nor will I imply that you are on the right track. But I also won't tell you if you're wrong either. I think that the puzzle is totally solvable, just by reading the verse, looking at the painting. I don't know what the solves accomplish, I guess, or sending me solves accomplishes, because I'm going to say no,
without a picture of the cask.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to kind of see where people are, or if they're on the right track or not, or if I have to start preparing myself for what to say if it's found. You kind of sometimes get like a little, they figured something out, or they're way off, or whatever.
Have you had those moments where people have figured something out and you're like, wow, that's, like you can see it?
Well, yeah, there are some things that are designed to be dead on, and things that are designed to be found. And that's the thing, though, is they're designed that way.
Yeah, they're symbols.
So it could go either way.
Okay, let's play the game.
Let's play the game.
Game time.
I'm excited for the game.
What is this game called?
Symbols with Kit. Okay. Oh, and I want to give a real fun fact to anybody that doesn't know, that's in the community that doesn't know a whole lot about Kit, because I did a little bit of digging on this guy, and you don't actually have to dig really far to find this, but Kit Palencar is known for his art. He loves doing art. He's a decent barista, from what I understand. He likes to cook sometimes. But one thing that Kit Palencar is all about that you might not know is Frisbee. This guy plays Frisbee a lot. And I didn't even know, like that game that you play with the teeny cage things. I don't even know what that's called. Is that just
Disc golf.
Frisbee golf? Okay, yeah. I've watched all your Instagram videos of you playing Frisbee golf. And I don't know that you see Kit smile more than when he's chucking that disc. So there was a fun little trivia fact about Kit Palencar for you.
Fun.
I absolutely love disc golf, and I have a few buddies that it's always been a thing. I started playing it back when I was in high school, and I had one disc, and that was a disc that I'd found in the woods. It wasn't even mine.
Nice.
And people write their phone numbers on discs, but for some reason I didn't understand the common courtesy of calling somebody and giving them their thing back. So I just kept it. And that disc has now been lost again on a different park somewhere else. So they can't even return to the guy. But I always tell people that there's nothing more satisfying than watching the flight of a disc. There is something just so smooth and satisfying about watching that fly through the air, and that it came from your hand. I don't know, maybe it's like when people fall in love with like tennis or baseball or skateboarding or any other esports even.
Yeah.
Like Counter-Strike. I'm a big PC gamer. playing Counter-Strike, there's nothing more satisfying than hitting a good headshot.
Yeah. Call of Duty, any of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
do you
yeah, yeah.
resent the term frisbee? I noticed you're calling it discs all the time. Do you resent the term frisbee?
No, I think, and there's always elitists about anything, anywhere. So like a lot of the disc golfers will call golf ball golf because it's
What?
not disc golf, it's ball golf. I love disc golf, but golf had it first. Golf was golf before
Golf was golf.
disc
Yeah.
golf was a thing, right? So I'm not like that at all. But
I'm trying to imagine what an elitist disc golfer looks like.
Oh, hey, I used to play. I played for about 10 years back in the day in
Really?
Santa Cruz. Yeah, I
Are you
have a
being
whole.
serious right now?
Oh, dead serious. I have a whole bag around here somewhere.
are you serious? What did you have a favorite disc? What did you throw?
I don't recall what they are.
Oh, I'll be right
My
back.
friend bought me some. I have a putter. The putter's kind of the heavier, floppier one, and then driver. Like they have kind of the same things as actual golf clubs.
Do you guys have a Robies?
Oh,
in
nothing.
the States?
No, nothing like that, dude. Mine has like 5 in it.
So I
Yikes.
have a shelf with about 20 or 30 more discs in it because I like to change out my bag. So I have, these are putters here,
Yeah.
my two main putters. These are throwing putters right
Yeah.
here. I have all my drivers in here, and then I have
Yeah.
my mid-range discs here.
Yes.
So this,
Do you guys have a Robies? Do you know what a Robie is?
yeah,
You heard of those?
those were some of the, I think the earliest discs, and then, and then companies actually started like Innova or Discraft. Those guys have been making discs for a long time, but Arobi Whammo too. Those guys were making. I forgot what they called them. They were like frisbee golf discs or something.
Well, and Aerobies were super cool because they were like the ones we had up here are super, super thin, and you can get them in a triangle or a circle, but they're super thin, and then they have a little groove carved out the bottom of them to make them extra like aerodynamic. And we could take them, like there's a lake like 20 minutes away from me called Sylvan Lake, and we would take these things out in the water, and they're really bad to play with in the water because they float really well, but they fly so well that you could throw them almost entirely across the lake because they just fly forever, and they're a lot of fun. The triangular ones especially for some reason could fly like the dickens. But
Are you
that's-
talking about like the rings?
yeah, with the little groove cut out the bottom.
Yeah, I threw one of. I hadn't thrown one of those in a while, and this was about a year or two after I was seriously playing disc golf. And after I'd gotten the throw and the form down, and I threw one of those, and it went so far.
Right?
I wasn't used to throwing, a frisbee like how you throw a disc before.
Yeah.
And you just left it. You're like, I'm not gonna go. Do that.
Yeah. Well, it was in the
That's what you do with
backyard.
them.
Screw
But
that.
Yeah. You throw them, and
okay.
then when you realize you can't get them back, you're just like, well, I guess I'll go get it.
Whatever. I'm just gonna
yeah,
buy it.
there's $29
buy an-
down the drain.
Right. I'm just
I'm
gonna
gonna
buy
pour one
another
more
one.
drink, and then we'll play the game.
Okay.
I can't even get in this conversation. I worked in Parks and Rec for a while, and I found a disc golf. Oh, that's cool. I found a disc, and now my cat eats out of it, out of the garage.
Is there a phone number on it?
No, it's orange though.
It's
I don't know
probably
if that helps. So what's our game, Cole?
Okay, so symbols with Kit. Kit, going back to that episode about the Boston find and the conversation you guys had about it, you were talking about symbolism, and that was probably my favorite part of that particular conversation because it's talking to you as an artist, not necessarily as the son of JJP or the maker of the tribute or any of that kind of stuff. It's talking about you and your opinions as an artist. So I want to talk about some symbols, and in that conversation you mentioned how like in old paintings and stuff like that, if there was a lady with her hand behind her arm, it usually symbolized prostitutes, or sorry, her arm behind her head, it symbolized prostitutes or a lady who was like ready to go kind of thing. For you, dogs were a symbol of loyalty. And so the game is we're each going to give you 3 nouns, just to use the most basic term, as symbols, none of which are in the tribute image. So none of this has to do, like none of it's going to give away anything from the tribute or anything like that, hopefully. And we want to know what, if you were to put these things into a painting, what would they symbolize to you as an artist? Like what would the symbolism be of these particular things? Okay.
Okay.
So this is the game.
You're gonna
Who
show
wants
me
to start?
pictures.
No, we're just going to give you the words, and you can, if you were to put X into a picture, what would that thing symbolize?
Okay.
You dig?
Okay.
George, you go first.
I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna cheat and use something that you put in a lot of your paintings just because I'm curious about it. Barns.
What does this mean?
Yeah. What you put barns in a lot of your paintings? What does that
I do.
symbolize to you?
The barns symbolize a. This is really interesting because a lot of people don't really maybe ask the artist directly about what certain things mean, or nobody has directly asked me before. Barns symbolize this decaying generation, a generation that is past but is still very much there, and it just happens to be the Midwestern Ohio landscape. And I've done many paintings, fewer projects than paintings about these barns. And it got to a point where I was doing all these landscape paintings that were very much inspired by Andrew Wyeth and Edward Hopper, two of my favorite artists. I would go up to different houses that were really old or had barns, and I would ask the people, like, hey, can I take some pictures or stay and do a sketch of whatever? And I would have some really interesting conversations with people. And the one conversation that I had with somebody one day, they lived in a schoolhouse that was very close to one of the main roads that goes through Medina and Hinckley and just a couple counties in Ohio. And I remember I had, because it's weird when people like knock on your door now. You know, you never get out and knock on somebody's door. Walked up and she opened the door, and I, tried to be as creepy as possible. I knock and then take like 5 steps back to let them know I was not, a complete stranger. And I was asking her about the house and if I could, take some photos. I'm a landscape artist, here's my business card. I showed her some images of my phone of like what I did. She told me a story about the house, how it was a 100-year-old schoolhouse. And, there was a big barn in the back that was really interesting. And she let me go around the property and take photos. And I did a few paintings that have since sold, watercolor landscapes. They're gone. But I also did a couple projects about land being sacred and the sense of like the ground that you are on or the ground that you are from that you recognize as home. Is that sacred ground? Is it sacred to you? Do other people feel just as sacred as you do when you are stepping onto this land? And so I did this project about this house. I did these paintings, and I remember I had moved out of my parents' house, so I wasn't around, these landscapes anymore. And I lived in Kent. I lived in Akron, but sometimes I would go back and play the disc golf courses in Medina. So I'd always drive through the same area. And especially if I went to my parents' house, I would drive by where this house was. And one day the house was gone, and so was the barn. And then a few months later, it was a development. And, every house looked the same, and this has happened. Now I went down another road in Medina. This was just a couple weeks ago. And there were several barns that I have pictures of in my reference that are no longer. They've been completely demolished, torn down to make way for new highways, new developments. And so the barns symbolize this generation, the sense of nostalgia, the sense of what's there that some people might not have noticed, but they never will now. So it's like, if a tree falls in the woods, do you hear it? Well, yes and no.
I'm going to pick something more mundane. A hubcap.
I said stuff that's not in the tribute image.
How do you know that that's...
That's true. That's very true.
Why didn't you let him react?
Right. It could be, a shield or something. Who
A
knows?
gear.
Yeah.
But what if you did put a hubcap in a painting? What would that symbolize to you?
Oh man, all sorts of hubcaps are different. I've never really done an automotive painting before, but a hubcap to me would mean I don't know, something shiny, something reflective. A hubcap could mean some sort of travel or a collectible of some sorts. I think people collect all sorts of things. I'm definitely a collector. I collect disc golf. I collect video games. I collect replica firearms, airsoft guns, stuff like that. But people collect license plates. People collect all sorts of things. So that's what it would mean to me, I think, is just a collection. Does that
Awesome answer.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I'm going to give you a choice. I got two, and you just get to pick one and go with it. I want either a bicycle or an untied shoe.
I'd pick the bicycle.
Okay.
I think that, a bicycle in a painting symbolizes a growth or a transition or almost a coming of age. I think that bicycles, everybody knows how to ride a bike. That's why there's that saying, it's like riding a bike. You can just pick it right up and learn how to do it again. And everybody starts on, a tricycle with training wheels, and then you bump up to something else, and then you keep going up until you're riding a mountain bike. And so I would, the bicycle is a really cool thing. That's another really cool subject to paint and work from. I don't know if the Rhode Island School of Design, or RISD for short, still does it, but one of their application procedures was you had to submit a drawing, or just a drawing or a painting of a bicycle. Like, how do you?
Wow.
So, and that's how they admit you into the program.
Whoa.
I don't know if they still do that or not, but you get all sorts of different bicycles that people would design, different abstract artists, different realist artists, different sculpture majors or glass artists or metalsmiths, all sorts of different.
The TV show Brain Games did an experiment once where they asked people to draw bicycles from memory, and then they would try to build them and see if they actually would be functional bikes. And like 75% of the time, they absolutely could not function as a bicycle does, the way people drew them, right?
Really? I feel like I could draw a bike out of my head right now and
Yeah.
function.
Well, yeah, if you're
Gears
an
and
artist, but these are just people on the street that they talk to. But
There was an old TV show. I forgot what channel it was on. It was called Junkyard Wars, and there would be different teams of people, and they would go into the junkyard, and they would have to build a certain type of vehicle out of pieces from the junkyard. And that was really, really cool.
There's a question, like a two deep artistic questions, just to get in the mind of an artist, that I've always been curious about. And I tried to ask your dad once one of them, and he absolutely wouldn't answer me. It was about his painting Ghost Punch. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm going to look it up right now so I know what you're talking about.
That is absolutely my favorite painting he's ever done, and it means so much to me that it probably absolutely does not mean to him. But art's like that. Once you produce art and it means something to you, and you put it out in the world, and it means something completely different to everybody else. As an artist, do you feel that that a painting that you create, does the meaning behind that ever change because of public perception? Or do you always hold to you, does the painting always mean the same thing, or does it ever change because of public perception?
I think that is part of being an artist, is being able to defend your work if the situation ever arises. I think that, at least for me, there are paintings where pretty much every piece of art I ever do, it means something, and it will never, nobody will ever tell me that it means anything different. That's the interesting thing about perception and interpretation, is that you get so many different interpretations about one piece of art. And that's the beauty of art too, is that you can think whatever you want about a piece of art, but it's like a magician, they're the only ones who knows the secret to their routine or their illusions that they do.
Would you agree that from an artist's perspective, that an artist's interpretation of their emotions becomes the viewer's interpretation of the work that we do? Like, you say that, and I agree 100% that when you make a piece of art, it means this thing to you, or like it has this meaning for you as the artist, and that will never change, right? But sometimes viewers interpret things differently than the artist originally intended. Is that a result of the fact that they themselves may not be artists and can't see why you give the meaning you do to these works? Or is it also because like viewers' experiences with art is subjective in the same way that an artist's view of their own work is subjective, correct?
I think it's absolutely suggestive about how a viewer interprets a piece of work versus like I don't interpret. I think any artist would interpret another artist's piece of work completely different than that artist interprets their own work.
Okay.
I think that I interpret Andrew Wyeth's work differently than he interprets his own work.
I was going to ask about Christina's world. Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain things that I might not even notice that an artist put into their work, or I might be missing certain obvious symbols. For example, Ghost Punch, those little round
guys.
Yeah, those are Halloween decorations that my mom hung in the very first house that I remember growing up in. And I'm lucky to have the smile that I do, because when my mom was hanging these Halloween decorations, the brakes on my stroller, I guess, failed or something. And I rolled forward down the porch, and there were 3 steps. And I tipped over frontwards, and I went down 3 steps, and then my face and mouth, smashed into the sidewalk below. And I was very young. I think I was 3 or 4. And I don't know if I cried or not, but she lifted up my top lip, and my teeth were like gone, and my gums were all black and blue, and they were like, worried I wasn't going to have any front teeth. And so those little ball things are from, I think, that day. They were Halloween decorations. They were little ghosts.
Wow.
So I don't know. I interpret that painting totally different than how you interpret it, George.
You're the one that got the ghost punch.
I guess that was me. Pushed me down the stairs.
Right to the kisser.
You got curb stomped by them ghosts.
Art is obviously your passion, but you seem to have another passion for teaching others to create art, improving their skills and improving, not improving, but changing the way they approach art, maybe. You spent a lot of time teaching. You've taught at Canton School of the Arts. Did you teach at Akron as well? Or not Canton School of the Arts, Canton Museum, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And did you teach at Akron?
I'm teaching at Akron right now.
The world's full of people who love your art, but they can't necessarily just up and go to Akron. Do you have any plans in the future of maybe doing some like online teaching, online tutoring, anything like that?
Absolutely. In fact, I've just opened up a Patreon page where if you subscribed to even just my base tier level, the tier 1, which I think is $15 a month, if you subscribe to that, you will get access to any sort of drawing or painting demonstration video that I make in my studio. And my hopes are to create lessons and workshops and tutorial videos for people who want to see the world differently. A lot of my teaching philosophy is based off of not just teaching people how to draw better or learn how to draw an eye or something, but how to see the world differently. I know that a non-artist looks at a tree differently than how I look at a tree. When I look at a tree, I think of all these different positive and negative shapes between the leaves and the branches. I think about composition. That's why I love dead trees so much. There's something about things that are dead. I don't know. I do a lot of skulls. I do a lot of dead trees, a lot of derelict barns that are falling apart. I think that they just create such interesting shapes. But you tell a person who's not an artist to look at a tree, or like some of my disc golf buddies who are not artists are like, why are you taking a picture of that tree? And I was like, well, it looks really fucking looks cool. And so these classes that I'm going to be launching, these demonstrations, are going to be about how to see the world differently, not just how to represent it, but how to see it differently. So that's something that's going to be coming very soon.
But they're not just like static classes; they're interactive, right? People will be able to interact with you during these.
Well, there are some that are going to be pre-recorded videos where it's a demonstration about one of the first videos that I'm going to launch is going to be about line and how simple a line can be and how effective a line can be and how to handle line and how to draw with just line. And those are going to be pre-recorded and posted. But there can always be discussions had. I think I can have like a comment section or a blog. And then the next tier up on my Patreon, you will get access to a weekly stream where I don't know what day, I haven't decided that yet. But let's say every Friday night I stream from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. That is something that you can join and watch me paint. You can have a discussion with me. You can type in the chat. You can ask me all sorts of questions about, hey, how do you do this? Or why are you doing that? Or what are you working on today? Or, hey, what's this weird rash on my belly? And we'll have a nice conversation about anything. So,
but not the tribute, right?
What was that?
But not the tribute.
I don't know. I'm not putting any rules on anything. I don't want it to be just talk about, the tribute or the secret. And I hope that people realize that too.
Because generally when you go into streams like this, it's not focused on art. There's a lot of just bullshitting with people. There's a lot of just conversation, which is the fun part of these streams. Like, it's not just, this is how you paint a flower. Like, it's a lot of just having a conversation with Kit.
There are a lot of videos that I've been watching online of people who have done video demonstrations and different classes, and they are so boring. Like, there's either like no talking or there's no energy behind it. And so I'm hoping to do something completely opposite of that. Yes,
I have a request for Kit for one of your classes. Can you do a class on painting with white watercolor?
There is no such thing as white watercolor.
There kind of is, but there kind of isn't.
Very light gray.
Yeah.
There is that's a really interesting thing to talk about is I don't, it's like a lot of people don't believe in like using black in paintings or something like that.
Right.
I don't believe in using white watercolor. It depends on, I guess, the mood or what the painting is, but I think that being able to think about the white of the paper as the white paint is a lot more rewarding. It shows a lot more confidence. It shows a lot more knowledge in what you're doing when you're applying the watercolor. You have to think about layering it up. You have to think about, okay, this is going to be the white of the paper. I need to not put any paint here or watch my washes, watch any splattering. Because the watercolor is kind of like a stain. Like, if you ever notice when you do a drawing, do watercolor over top of that, you can still erase your pencil drawing because it stains the paper more than actually putting something over top of something else.
So you're a big negative space guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this is why we have to sign up for your Patreon, is to hear about all sorts of stuff like this. Because I will sign up. I will sign up.
Yeah.
What is the address? Have you said the address already? Like, what is
No, I wanted to wait until I had something to give, because right now it's totally empty. There's nothing on there, and I don't want to start. I've already taken money from George and he's got nothing in return. He signed up. He was the first patron to my Patreon. Thank you, George.
Yeah, no problem.
So I want to wait until I can get something posted on there before I release it.
And we'll post it in the comments below the video or in the description, and it'll be around. Let's say like we've talked about it like it's for artists, but non-artists or beginner artists would get a lot out of this too, right? Like when I sat in on one of your classes in Canton, and it was very beginner high school artists. You were teaching them about how to properly use shadows. So I'm assuming that either non-artists or beginner artists would be able to get a lot out of this as well, in addition to just having conversations with Kit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of my instruction and years spent teaching, I've taught it now 3 different colleges and 1 museum. I've done little one-off classes before for different groups, different student groups. I've done like a wine and sip and paint kind of type thing. Anyway, cool. A lot of my instruction is based around, more beginner stuff, but they're techniques that can be utilized by a lot of, more advanced people. Sometimes the advanced people think they know everything, but they don't. And I'm not saying I know everything. I just know a different way to do things. So it's like the movie, I don't know if we're going to get copyrighted here, but Ratatouille, when the guy says anyone can cook in that heavy, thick Italian accent. I say the same thing about drawing. I think anybody can draw. You just have to free your mind, like the Matrix, and Morpheus tells Neo to free his mind.
The result of that for some people is going to be worse than others. I mean, you want me to free my mind and start drawing stuff? It's not going to be very good. I'm just being honest with you, which is why I would sign up for your Patreon, because I want to hear, that was cool what you said about like thinking about things like spatially.
One of the things that I like about Patreon is it's kind of passive. It's a way to support people who are doing things that you like, right? You don't necessarily have to be active in it. You don't necessarily have to be active in the streams. Like the podcast has a Patreon, but we don't give anything. You get nothing from joining it. Essentially, it's just a way to support the creators that whose work you enjoy. It's a way to help Kit buy groceries, kind of. So you sign up, and it's like $10-15, and then every month you give $10 or $15 to Kit, and it allows him to keep making art.
Yeah, it pays for supplies. It pays for new canvas, brushes, gas to continue teaching at colleges and universities, and it's just a way to support me. Also, if you let's say you don't want to buy a painting or a drawing or something, this is another way to support me in my art, and you get something out of it too. You get a lecture, you get a class, you get a demonstration, you get to hang out with me on a stream. You might even get a print or something for free if you sign up for a higher level. You get to suggest ideas for paintings, so you get something too out of it.
As a guitar player, I've always said that the only thing better than listening to a song is knowing how to play it. And I think that applying that to what Kit's doing, like the only thing better than knowing how to, or like then seeing art by artists that you love, is knowing how they do it, right? And if somebody can go to these or watch these classes and support Kit and learn, and walk away being a better artist in some way, shape, or form, that's exactly the same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's learning how to be better by people that have been there, right?
And there's so many different ways to do things too. I think that I have learned a lot from my dad about his techniques, but he is such a private, solitary artist. He sits in his studio and he locks all the doors and he shuts the steel curtains on his windows, and but I enjoy having others be able to create things, and they can take what I teach and do whatever they want with it. They can twist it, they can tweak it, maybe they do it a different way, and that's the beauty of art.
But let's say people want to take it a step further, because we were talking earlier, you said, let's say you don't want to buy a painting. Let's say you do. Let's say somebody wants to buy a painting from you. Your paintings are for sale, I'm assuming. People just have to get in touch with you. And you were also talking about doing prints. We talked earlier about doing a print of the tribute painting. Are you
Absolutely.
going to do prints of any of your other paintings?
Yes, the ones that are still left that I can actually get good photographs of. I think I have some photographs that are not too good of paintings that are now sold and in different states or countries. But for instance, this painting of a tea bag, which is one of the tiers on my Patreon, it is the first tier, the tea bag tier. This painting has sold, but I plan on doing prints of this. So if you'd like to purchase a print of this, they will be available soon. And those are things that I could, sell on Patreon, or prints of any other painting that I'll do in the future. Prints of the tribute painting are going to be available.
I think we're gonna put some on the merch store for 12 Treasures. So if you go down there, go to 12 Treasures, go to the merch store. Hopefully by the time this comes out, some will be there. Who knows?
Thank you.
I would like
Thank
a
you
print
so
of
much.
At the Grave. That's my favorite Kit Palancar. I even highlighted it in my notes.
Oh man,
At
maybe
the
I'll just
Grave.
sell you the original.
Do you still have it? I thought it said it was
I
sold.
do. It's only that's a very, I think I don't know if it's still framed or not, but that's a very small painting. It's maybe a little bit larger than a postcard.
Oh yeah, okay.
The companion piece to that is called Dog Run,
Right.
and that is kind of a very similar theme, but it's about my late dog, Kimmy, and we always had a dog run, which is like a big line that you hook up to two trees, and it's like, I don't know, 100 feet, and then you can attach a 30-foot leash to that, so they can just run up and down your yard. We always had it, we never hooked it up for her. And so that was a painting about that. And
Now we know what to get Cole for Christmas.
Aw.
that's a big painting, and it's on paper too.
Oh, no, the
so you can
smaller
roll
one.
it up. Oh, the
Yeah.
small. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll go get it. I know where it is.
I've learned how much the tribute painting would cost. I can't afford the big paintings.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess that's all. Unless there's something else that you guys, Kid, is there something else you wanted to talk about, or something else we missed?
Are you hinting at something? Should I be talking about something?
No, I'm just curious if there was anything you wanted to talk about that we skipped over or didn't hit.
I don't think so. I'm just here to answer questions and kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm not quite out of gum yet, so.
Kid, do you play Resident Evil at all?
Did I play Resident Evil? I haven't bought any of the new ones. I have Resident Evil 4. I've always loved 4 because I remember playing it on Nintendo GameCube with one of my lifelong friends, Evan, and I remember that guy with the bag on his head just cutting
Right,
my
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
head off with the chainsaw, and it was
Yeah.
he was always
He was
chasing you.
savage. Yeah.
Dude, they made a controller for PlayStation based on that chainsaw.
Really?
It's like a chainsaw
Yes.
controller. Yeah, it's super
You
expensive.
have that, don't you?
No, I don't. It's one of my like white whales. I've never found it.
Right.
I got two PlayStation controllers I want. It's that one, and the Wu-Tang Clan made a game, and they made a PlayStation controller shaped like the Wu-Tang logo, and I can't
Nice.
find either of them.
That would
Oh,
be
that's
fucking
great.
rad.
I would pay a lot of money for either of those things. But yeah,
Well,
it's really,
that's what I keep saying about games. If they go on sale, I'll buy them because I bought the last. I don't know about you, but I think the quality of games has just gone
it's gone downhill.
really, really downhill. Like the last good game that came out, I think that I played was either Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like the one that came out in 2019, or Doom or Doom Eternal, and that was a few years ago now at this point. Because I bought the new Call of Duty and I bought the new Battlefield, like I think I had pre-ordered them or something, and I remember I returned both of them within a few days. I was like, I'm incredibly bored. It's full of bugs. It's not even finished. And now, I don't know, Battlefield, for instance, is now considering going free to play because they've burned so many people on what people thought they were getting. So that's what I was worried about Far Cry 6. So it's nice to hear that it actually can get a little good.
See, I hate multiplayer games. I just hate them. I don't like playing with people online. I don't want my gaming experience dependent on whether or not somebody's a dick. You know?
Yeah.
I always tell people I like to play with myself.
I like story-based games, and Far Cry 6 is a story-based game. It has some co-op, which is cool. I haven't tried yet, but yeah, the story is good. But like, it might not be a game for you because you're more of like a run and gun first-person shooter kind of guy, and I play first-person shooters as like the sniper role.
There are different games where the run and gun game, like first person shooters, to me, there are some that really push for like this competitive
Like PUBG.
gameplay. Well, PUBG is still a little arcadey to me. I'm when I think of like competitive first person shooters, I think of Counter-Strike and Call of Duty, like these 5v5, 6v6 head-to-head games where there's an objective and you're working with really smart people on your team and really smart people, and it's just a game of who can outsmart and who can manipulate who around the map differently and get the upper hand. And then there are games that I play like Far Cry 2. If you've never played Far Cry 2, I will
It's a
send you
masterpiece. No,
a
yeah,
copy.
I've got it.
I'll send you an EXE file because I turned off the music in that game and I just like, and I play Far Cry 2 and I get into this, like, I immerse myself with this African landscape, and you'll hear like gazelles like chirping off in the distance, and you can hear the wind going through the trees. And so there are games that I can play like Far Cry, Crysis, these open world games where you just Fallout, you know, I love Fallout 3.
Oh, dude, I'm a huge Fallout fan.
Yeah, you just get so enveloped in exploration, and so there's some times when I really am craving that, like I'm gonna get really pissed when I play a first person, and then there's the times when I really just want to relax and, you know, disappear to another world for a little bit where you know there's a lot going on. I'm working like 3 jobs right now, about to start 4, and sometimes I need a break from life.
Yeah,
neither do I.
too.
That's why I'm trying to get rid of the one job and just teach and have, you know, Patreon. So
hopefully it works.
I hope so too, and I hope to.
I can't wait to sign up. I pay into 2 Patreons right now. One is for the Pacific Northwest Stories podcast, and the other is the Satanic Temple. Lucian Greaves has a Patreon, and I pay into that because I like listening to him talk.
Nice.
But if you have a Patreon, like I that's why I was asking the link earlier, is because if it's there, I'll start paying in.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do, and I'll start buying in and whatever. But
I pay into
'Cause
one Patreon currently.
yeah, I want to talk to Kit. Like, if you look in the community, a lot of people want to talk to Kit Palancar because they want to know answers to the tribute, right? I've seen the tribute stuff, and I've seen now also what Kit Palancar does as an artist, and that's the stuff I want to get into, right? Like, when I first got into watercolor, my wife bought me, for my very first Father's Day, she bought me a set of really high-end watercolor tools, right? Paints, brushes, things like that, and paper. Like, that was the one thing that I didn't really ever put much credence into, was the kind of paper you're painting on, right? But
It's an incredible difference. In paper.
Fuck, man, it's massive. Like, what I use right now is I think it's just mixed medium paper, but it's basically watercolor that you can just pencil on, kind of thing, right? Like, it's still very porous and what have you. But you know, what's shocking to me about learning how to watercolor paint was actually how easy it was in comparison to how easy I thought it would be. Right? Like, I didn't think it was going to be easy at all. But then once you really start to look at like blending and the amount of water you're using, and like dry brush, I've gotten so big into dry brush watercolor painting. Like, all my backgrounds in my original art is just dry brush painting, right? And you know, those sort of things are really, really fun. So I want to learn more techniques from other artists, right? And that's a great way to do it.
Watercolor was one of the first things that I learned, and God, I don't know where it is. I feel like there was some sort of talk about seeing my first watercolor painting.
Oh shit, that was a question somebody wanted me to ask and I forgot.
Fuck. I just thought about that now. I think it's.
Well, let's do it and record a little extra bit that you can put on.
I don't know that I can. I can record an OBS. All right, I'm recording an OBS.
What does that stand for?
I don't know where.
OBS, Open Broadcast Software.
Oh.
Where do I put it?
Shit, and there was a trivia question I wanted to ask, but I just thought of it now.
I got a super depressing question I want to ask Kit. It's very depressing.
Kid, I have an image question that I wanted to ask during the thing, but forgot to.
Get off the depressing part.
Do you have a favorite part of the tribute image? Like, is there something in there that you look at and you're just like, God damn, that's fucking rad? You know what I mean? Like,
It's probably just gonna be like, yes, I can't tell you what it is.
that's fine. I just want to know if you have things like that, or is it just like an overall, I dig this picture?
God, I don't know where that fucking painting is. I gotta go out in the other room and look for or something. Hey, Kelly.
Kelly's like, you still talking to your nerd friends?
Yeah.
I think she's my favorite part of the tribute painting.
What?
She was the model for it. So,
Oh,
That's cute.
yeah.
We don't have to tell anyone that.
No, that's okay. But I like how ambiguous people's interpretations are of, people think it's like an American Indian, or the face is a little bit different. There's certain things that are, distorted that, maybe reference something else.
Mm-hmm. Well, like when Dustin's thing, he had those pictures of the painting, like progress pictures of the painting, and somebody had noticed that there was like you had painted over top of something, I think on the final board or something like that, and you had mentioned in the comments, you're like, yeah, that was like an old piece of like canvas or something I had drawn on, and I'm just painting over top of it. But somebody wanted to make that into a clue, essentially.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. That the original piece of art that was done, I was experimenting with wood panels and using graphite powder, and I would take ebony pencils because they're super soft, and I would grind them down on sandpaper to get a bunch of dust. And you could buy graphite powder in like a jar, but it was like incredibly expensive and super rare. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I would grind these pencils down on sandpaper, and I would take here's one that I've used. It used to be white, but I would take it and dip it in graphite powder, and then I would draw with this, and I would block in a area with it, and then I'd go back in with erasers, and I'd go back in with turpentine and a brush, and the turpentine would break apart the graphite and make it really spreadable, almost
That's
like an
sweet.
oil paint. And so the painting that was originally on there was like this girl sitting in a chair in a enclosed patio smoking a cigarette. And
That's cool.
I
So you basically
collaged.
were painting with pencil.
Yeah.
Next time I have an art question, I'm just going to ask you instead of trying to ask your dad, because I tried to ask your dad. I was doing this drawing, and I tried to ask your dad how to do essentially what you just said. I had to fill an entire page full of graphite quickly without just like scribbling on the page and then blending it all out. And he was like, I don't know, I can't help you. He's like, sometimes maybe just powder graphite, whatever. I did this. I did that like forever ago. And I was like, I can't figure out how to, I was like, I don't know how to do it without ruining my pencils. And he was like,
Well, I'll tell you a story. So there was a drawing that I did of my hand, and it's pretty much, the drawing just looks like this. It's my hand like this, and it's cropped right here like this. And I wanted the hand to be very detailed. So I spent a lot of time on the hand, but the thing that consumed the most amount of time, this drawing took about 12 hours to do. The thing that consumed about 7 or 8 of the hours was meticulously using an ebony pencil to color the entire background in black. And my hand, would cramp up severely. So sometimes you just like, sometimes you do something with graphite powder and it looks really like rushed or, lazy. And then some things you do with graphite powder where it's like, yeah, that works in the application. And then sometimes you just need to fucking bite the bullet and take your time and be patient and put on some music and just zonk yourself out and, get this thing done.
Yeah.
So,
but that's not me, man. Anything that I do doesn't take more than a couple hours. Like, I don't have the patience for it. I almost do speed drawing. It's weird.
So I think my dad, when he does, he'll do sketches for an illustration, and the sketches look completely different from what he sends to the publisher or whoever is commissioning this piece of art for an illustration. So I think he will either photograph or scan his images in and then edit them in Photoshop. He'll inverse certain colors. So that way, you know, if you ever see one of his drawings and there's a big gray area in the background, well, he might have pulled it into Photoshop and inversed it or colored it in gray or something, and then edited the photo, and then that's what he sends off to people.
That's so cool. Gentlemen, I gotta disappear.
Okay, I'll go ahead and
All right.
end everything, and Kit, let you get back to your girlfriend and stuff. Thanks, man,
Okay.
for coming on. I'll get this
Yeah, no problem.
edited. I'll get this edited this week sometime, and I'll get it sent to you just to make sure there's nothing in it that you don't want in there. And then, like I said, we'll throw it out on the 14th.
Wow, that's fucking insane, dude. I did never like expected any of this, and I never have expected any of these podcasts or talks with anybody. It's insanely humbling, and to be able to talk with you guys about this kind of stuff. And Brett and Cole, thanks, and George, thank you for asking all these questions and shit about process, about art, about the tribute, about the secret, how little I know about it. And I really appreciate you guys for everything that you do. Even just like looking or hunting for the tribute is all the support I need.
Hey man, as a key searcher, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say thanks for coming out and doing this very thing. Like, you know, JM's not around to be with you to do it, you know, and so I imagine it probably was a little bit tricky to come out and talk about it with us. And like, obviously, if this part doesn't belong in the podcast, don't put it there. I'm just speaking from the people that I've spoken to and stuff like that. And, you know, a lot of people are really fucking excited about this conversation we just had. So, you know, thank you. I just want to say thanks as an artist for coming out and being willing to talk about your processes and stuff like that and just your experiences.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, toast to John too. Thank you, John.
Cheers to
Tribute.
John. Fuck yeah.